Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Can you just let us know in the chat if you can hear us? I'll make sure we've got good sound for today.
2 thumbs up.
Great. Perfect. All right. Well, we've got about it is actually time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for coming. I know it's an early morning session to be here, and it's a little bit of a amorphous name for a session. What's in the waffle? So we went with the breakfast theme for sure. So I'm excited to present with you today, and really the presentation is going to be pretty free-flowing. There are not slides that we're going to follow today because I think the best way to explore actually what you have access to in the Microsoft Suite is actually just driving through it and kind of taking some twists and turns depending on what people want to see and what they want to explore a little bit. So for the next hour, we're going to spend some time together doing that. And driving this morning, I'm Stephanie Stevens. I'm the account executive serving the University of Alabama system as your, okay. So I'm really excited to be here with you. We've also got some team members that have come out with me to be here on campus. Obviously, most of you guys joining remote here, and happy to do the hybrid option in Teams. So before we get started with the content, I just want to, if Teams is not super familiar and native to you, just to make sure that you can see the chat. I think a lot of things will happen in the chat as we go through today. Did my screen stop sharing?
No, just over here, I think.
Oh, okay, all right. And also there are a couple of ways that you can get attention if you're not using the chat. So the first one would be through the React. If there's something that you love or something that's funny, hopefully I say a few things that are entertaining and funny, you can use that React emoji up at the top and use those items. And if you have a question that you want to ask, please feel free to put that in the chat without waiting for a break in what we're doing, but also you can raise your hand and that'll let me know that somebody wants to ask something, and we'll do that with the whole group here also gathered in the room. So I think we're ready to roll. Anybody have anything? I think we're good in the chat. Everybody good? Okay. All right. So what I want to start with today is, obviously you can see on my screen here, hopefully people are familiar with, I need to drop this just a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you guys. Are familiar with Whiteboard from Microsoft. As an instructor, and I still serve part-time as faculty, I teach fully online at Kennesaw State University, which is the institution that I joined Microsoft from. So a lot of what I do in my synchronous sessions, because it's online, is then we start to diverge a little bit. Some people love and use every day OneNote. Some people will never touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's just depending on how your brain operates, right? SharePoint, unless you're building sites or running teams of really deep content and share, you probably aren't messing with that. But very popular, very much used by a lot of people. Teams, they don't think about that as being a part of Microsoft, sort of the stack of tools, but it is. And then you go down here to some things that are a little bit more obscure. For example, bookings. I don't know how many of you are using bookings, but if you've ever used Calendly in the past, great way to replace that external tool and bring it back into the Microsoft environment. So we're going to go through some of these today and showcase just a very high level of what some of them can do. Understand that there are even more apps, right? So if I click this more apps, it's going to open up a screen that includes a ton. So we obviously won't have time to go deep into all of these today, but just to note that this page exists, and all of these things that you see in here in some form or fashion are included in your license. So for example, Clipchamp, very popular tool that Microsoft has now co-opted and brought into our environment. Great, for sort of easy video editing and making, video clips available. So again, lots here. We're going to spend some time going through it today and just seeing what maybe interests you, and we'll kind of take turns depending on what you want to explore a little bit deeper. Before we get into that, I do want to just call out that something that folks don't often think about, let me go back to your web page, is Microsoft Edge as a browser. So coming from higher ed myself, everything was Chrome or die. Most people were running a MacBook and using Google Chrome as their browser of choice. Not until I came to Microsoft did I start to see the power of what the Edge browser had built into it. So I would be remiss if I did not show you a couple of those things. The first is that you have here a couple of built-in options inside of Microsoft Edge. The first being any web page, I can now read aloud to myself and turn any web content into a podcast, essentially. So it's a really great option if you're looking at course content, if you're trying to get through a really meaty document of some kind. You're able to do that read aloud of any content built in. It's not an extension, it's not some kind of add-on you need to install, it's just there natively. But that also comes with a lot of other options as well, included in what we call immersive reader. So it will translate full pages into other languages. Let me find my immersive reader. Where did it go? I don't know where it went, Carlos. Where's my immersive reader at? Push an update, they said. Anyway, I might need to have some actual content on here first. Let me see if I can pull it up. Long story short, I can translate, not only read aloud, but translate any web content. I can change the voice of that content. I can also change the visuals of that content and invert the colors. So if I have some visual differences, I can change that natively inside of Edge. So I'll pull that up a little bit later if we have time. I want to get back to the Waffle, but just know that those things sit natively inside of Edge. I know that we're going to have sessions this week that also cover Copilot. So if you see this little button up here, that's a part of what our Microsoft AI tooling is, built into Edge natively as well. So again, not another install, not another web page that you have to open up.
Immersive readers in the, we moved it.
Where did we put it? And by we, it was not me.
In Edge, so it's actually gonna be somewhere like right over here. Try getting the little 3 dots in there, but you have to actually add it as a, we put it so you have to add it into Edge.
Oh, I have to add it in now.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay, that's fine. More tools.
I'll put the instructions in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we'll come back to that. So let me jump back over to my Waffle. And again, when I click in the Waffle, you're going to see all these apps pop up and more apps. We're not going to go there yet. I want to just start with a couple of things. First of all, let's do show of hands in the call, and you can raise your hand here in the room if you're in the room. How many of you have ever used the tool called Sway? Carlos raised his hand. All right. So in the world of data privacy and security, this is a really good way to share content outside of your environment without sharing an anyone with the link has access kind of a link, right? So in the world of trying to keep content, information, IP in the UA environment, if you're collaborating with a student or a faculty member or a researcher outside of your university, it's not a great idea to just generate a link and send that out. Most institutions have that locked down. So how can you, with people that you're presenting to or people you're collaborating with, share content with a quick link? Sway is a great way to do that. So Sway, again, just creates essentially like a micro web page. So let me show you an example of one. So again, this was a quick Sway that I just imported a Word document that I had already. You can just bring it right in. It goes ahead and creates for you, again, a mini web page. You can add all kinds of things to this. You can add links, you can add images, you can add, this is a Microsoft form that we've embedded inside of it. So it creates this Sway, and then it's a very easy grab the link and share it out. So if you are presenting, for example, if you have content that you're presenting in class, or if you're a faculty member that wants to kind of rubber band content together for a specific unit of study or for a specific topic, if you're a student that wants to pull together, you know, maybe you had to write an essay, you also wanted to pull in a PowerPoint or something else that you've created as one consolidated project, this is a great way to do it. The other great thing about this is that it will give you some analytics. So if you create this and share the link out, it will tell you how many views you got, how much time people spent on this Sway. So it's a really great, easy tool. And again, you can see here, I can create it from scratch, but I can also start from an existing document. And that will pull in, you know, either from my actual file storage or from OneDrive. And the beauty again is that you do not have to create every one to look great. You create it and then you can just remix it as you go. So when I hit edit, oh, this one's view only, that's fine. I build the content and then Sway allows me to just hit a button to design it. So it will kind of rotate through some templates and I don't have to make design decisions, right? How many of us have ever gotten trapped in like making something look great and we forget about the content? So Sway takes over that piece of it. You worry about the content and then you just hit this remix button and it allows you to just float through different templates and styles. So really takes the guesswork out of making something look great. Okay, so Sway, again, super low impact, doesn't require a lot, but here are some templates that also exist. You can do a how-to template, a newsletter, a presentation. I can tell you when I was working on my dissertation with my committee, I would put chunks of my dissertation into a Sway just for easy consumption. And any kind of links that I wanted to have my committee review or ask questions about, I would embed those in there so that it wasn't, you know, hey, read this massive paper, and then here's the set of links that I want you to go out to. I would put them in line to get feedback. So it was a really great way for me to make a little more dynamic the content that I was trying to share with people. So really think outside the box here on how you can use Sway. So you can see no matter which app we're in the Microsoft environment, the Waffle is always going to show up on the top left. So you never have to worry about, you know, well, how do I get back to other apps? Again, always up at the top left, it's going to bring us back to a place where we can see all of our apps. So we talked a little bit about Sway. We've obviously kind of brushed over the Excel, the Word, the PowerPoint. I want to spend a little bit of time on bookings. And maybe in the chat and here in the room, is anybody using bookings right now? A couple of people. Great. So again, bookings is a great way to automate and to allow people to find time on your calendar to meet with you and generate that Teams link automatically. So you can see this is my personal bookings page, and I have 3 types of meetings that bookings has walked me through to create. Very easy templatized way to kind of walk through what do you want to have, what kinds of meetings do you want to have, and how long should they be, and you can set that up. So when people click my link, they're actually going to go and copy this. And I'll show you what this looks like from a consumption perspective. Like if I'm a person that clicks Stephanie's bookings link, this is what they're going to see. So they're going to see 3 types of meetings I've set up. I have a 15-minute quick sync, a 30-minute connect, and a 45-minute strategy session. Just as a quick tip, nobody needs more than 45 minutes of your time. If you're allowing people to book more than 45 minutes with you, it's too much. In a modern work environment, we would not suggest that. And frequently, there's actually a way in the Microsoft environment to cut every meeting down by at least 5 minutes. So automatically, if you put a meeting on the calendar, it's going to end at 5 minutes till the hour or at 25 after the hour, just to give people time to transition. Because in that hybrid environment, we're really going call to call to call, meeting to meeting, and not allowing people to have time to kind of like hold place in their mind for what they just did and move to the next thing. So let's just say I want to meet with myself for 15 minutes. It's going to dynamically shift what's available based on what my Outlook calendar has. So let me pause here and say, this is one of those things that's just a technique and an etiquette piece of modern work. If your Outlook calendar does not accurately reflect the time that you are spending at work during the day, you are doing yourself a disservice and you're doing a disservice to everyone that you're working with, because they won't be able to use tools like this effectively. They won't be able to use, you know, scheduling assistant inside of Outlook to find a time to meet with you. You're going to be perpetually in that back and forth Teams chat or email. Hey, when can you meet? I can meet this time. I can meet this time. Does this work for you? Which is possibly the most annoying thing that ever happens. I loathe and despise those conversations because we can do better than that. We have the technology and the tools to do it. The problem becomes if someone's Outlook calendar doesn't reflect where they're actually at and what they're doing. If it just says work from 8 to 5 every day, it's not helping anybody. It looks like you're busy all day and you've not also given yourself the kinds of insights that might be helpful to learn how you're working, right? So not only am I putting, for example, if I have a one-on-one with Bill for 25 minutes, and then I have an hour meeting with Mike and the team here, I can categorize those things differently. So the insights that the system is giving me is going to say, hey, you spend this much time on internal meetings versus external. You spend this much time in one-on-ones versus large group meetings. And those insights are really helpful to me as I try to plan my time effectively and efficiently.
So would you, as a practice, you know, if you're preparing for this kind of meeting, do you then block out however much time on your calendar so people don't book time?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you'll see, if I go over to it, it's a little bit of a nightmare, but I'll show you my actual calendar. Let me stop.
While you're doing that, Steph, why is it important to block that out? It's so you can focus without having.
Absolutely, yeah. So when I'm actually live in a call, especially if it's a Teams call, do not disturb goes on automatically. So people can't just cold call me on Teams. They can't just, you know, ping me and it push through as a notification. So that's really helpful. The other thing is that, again, now people know if there's something that I really need to attend or if they really need to get a hold of me, I've got small windows of time during the day where I can meet. Now this week I don't, because we're out here full board. And if your calendar looks like this, I'm sorry for you. Mine's a little bit like a demented light bright. It's not always this bad. But again, you can see things that are actually confirmed, things that are tentative. The colors are just different ways that I've categorized topically, but this is an accurate representation of what I'm doing. And so when people come to the bookings page, again, if I want 45 minutes of Stephanie's time, there's only 2 times today that that's going to happen. And because I didn't block my lunch hour like I should have, people can book time with me at noon today, or they could book time at 3:30. The rest of the day, I'm unavailable for that large a time period. But if I go back to 15 minutes, you'll see dynamically, there are 15-minute chunks that show up based on what my calendar is saying. That makes sense. Again, that's why it's super, super important that you accurately reflect it. Not only because it helps other people engage with you, but also because you're preserving your time and sanity. So again, I wouldn't put down 3 hours of, you know, focus time, but there is a way that the insights will push to you. Do you all get those Viva Insights emails that say, hey, you should book some focus time for yourself, or like, this is how much time you had? Take advantage of those if you're getting them automated through the system. If not, Teams will allow you to go in and actually book focus time, which puts you in do not disturb, allows you to get work done. So not only is this meetings, this is also work time for myself that I'm putting on the calendar. If I know I need to work on a presentation, I'm going to book 45 minutes of my time where people cannot book me, right? So you also have to worry about yourself and what kind of time you want to spend. So again, if we're talking about powerful tools in the Waffle and ways that you can really lean into modern work, Bookings is a really great tool for that. And it also forces the function of being responsible to your calendar, which I think is probably in the world of working in 2024, like that's one of the key functions. When I talk to students a lot about, hey, does Microsoft have internships? And like, what do I need to do to get hired at Microsoft? One of the core pieces that I always advise is be a ninja about how you utilize communication and collaboration tools. And part of that means that your calendar has to be super, super crisp. All right, now if I go back to the actual bookings page where I'm building, go back here. Oh, geez, don't want to do that. Move this out of the way. You can create additional meeting types as much as you want to, all right? So this is just the little wizard that you can book yourself through. It's super easy. It just walks you through. You can also create private links. So you can direct send a link to certain types of meetings to certain people that aren't public. I can change the location and it automatically creates the Teams meeting link. So if somebody finds my page, they want 15 minutes, it's going to automatically send that calendar invite to my calendar and to theirs with the Teams link automatically on it. So we don't have to go back and forth and manually do that. So really super easy to create the types. And then the other thing I'll say is obviously I am only managing myself. No one reports to me at Microsoft, which is a blessing and a curse. I'm only worried about myself. But there are many people who lead teams who want to maybe create, for example, in the admissions office, right? If I'm somebody who has a team of 40 people and any one of them depending on the type of meeting, can be booked to answer that question or to support that ask, I can create a team bookings page, right? So then I can, if you've ever booked like a haircut, where you can either choose the type of service you want or the stylist you want, and then it will dynamically change what times and days are available. Same thing applies here. So let's say I have a question for admissions, but it's specifically about, you know, scheduling courses in a specific college. Well, maybe there are only 3 people on the team that can answer questions about the College of Business scheduling. And so it will automatically only look at those 3 people's calendar to find a time for me to meet with them. So really great ways to, again, improve efficiency and allow a team to be bookable together rather than an individual. And a lot of institutions are using that for this exact purpose. So let me pause here. Any questions about bookings or something else you'd want to see in bookings before we move forward? Anybody see anything in the chat that I should be paying attention to?
Just a quick commercial that Amy's going to be presenting on a deeper dive of bookings at 1:30.
Beautiful. Okay, great. Can't see the board. Cassandra, are you seeing my screen at all? I'm not sharing a board. I'm sharing my browser. We'll come back to that. Okay. Let me go forward to another great tool that we have here. And this is another one that I believe we're doing a deep dive on later on in the week. I'm not exactly sure of time, but folks will hold me accountable to it. Has anyone played around with the tool called Loop? Loop is a relatively new tool. And for people like me who move fast and want to have a micro version of a collaborative document, this is game changing. So Loop is essentially, again, just what it says, a small component, a mini shareable component that can be live edited and collaborated on by multiple people. So I never actually go to Loop to start a loop. Let me show you where I go. Let me see if I can find, let me get back to my tenant. And let me go up to here. Okay, so I'm in my team chat here. You will see in Teams now a small icon. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen that way. Hold on one second. Share my screen fully so you can see where I'm at. I'm in Teams right now to show you this because that's where I natively will use a loop, but you can get to it also through the Waffle. So when you're in any Teams chat, for example, you will see this new icon at the bottom called Loop Components. It's a little, it looks like a loop, but it's right down at the bottom where you would put text. If I create a loop here inside of the Teams chat, I have a lot of different ways that I can templatize this, right? So I have table, bulleted list, checklist, task list. So frequently when I'm meeting with my team, I'll create a quick task list after a meeting. And I'll say, for example, follow up with UA on loop. And I can just type over and immediately say, tag that to somebody. Bill's going to do that. It's going to be due by Friday. And we're going to put that in the to-do. All right. And I can keep adding however much I want to this. And then I can also just start typing like notes from Microsoft Week. And then I can hit send. Now this is going to go out live to my team chat. And now everybody can jump in together. So I don't know, Bill, if you're able to jump in really quickly and just show what that looks like. But Bill can also get in here and start typing and adding things to my task list. Anybody can assign to anybody. It doesn't have to be a task list. There's lots of ways to do this. It could just be a little micro Word doc, right? If you wanted to live collaborate on a paragraph of text, for example, if you're following up via email and you want people to kind of all contribute to that follow-up. So the great thing about this is you can see Bill is, okay, I'm taking Bill out to lunch. I'm still in Teams. I haven't had to click out anywhere else, but we're live collaborating in this document. Carlos is in here now as well. So again, it's just about simplifying and really streamlining your collaboration. They're just really jokesters, aren't they? Wouldn't you guys love to travel with these two? So it's just really, really great to be able to not have to open up a new tool and go and do that separately. Now you can, like I showed you earlier, you can absolutely go and open up Loop and get into it that way. But for me, much better, much easier to be in the environment I'm in all the time anyway, which is Teams, okay? Now, people ask the question all the time, when I start to assign people things like in a task list, how are they gonna know about that? Well, you're gonna get an email that you've been assigned a task, but you're also, if you're using Planner at all inside of the Teams environment, which many people are now, that's going to coalesce all of the to-dos, all of the things you've been assigned, no matter where it exists across any app at Microsoft. So if I'm getting things in a planner that are assigned to me, and in a loop in this chat, and in a loop in that chat, it's all going to come together in one place. And again, that's another session that we'll have this week. So you don't have to worry about keeping up with all of these independently. They will all come together and give you one view of everything you've been assigned across the entire environment, which is great. And it will give you reminders as the due date approaches, etc. So really great tool. I love Loop. It's a lot of fun to be able to create something that you don't have to then open up externally to collaborate on. And again, it just streamlines the process. So all of these tools that we're showing inside the Waffle that are outside the core are really all created with an eye towards what it means to modern work, right? Not to be doing the same thing the same way we've always done, but how do we compress time, compress energy, and get people collaborating and communicating more effectively. So any questions on Loop? Let's see. Yes. You can't assign a specific time of day along with the due date. That's correct, Riley. Whoever asked that, yeah, in the chat. Yeah, it's really just the day itself. Now, there's also inside of the environment that you're assigning, you'll see when you open up Planner. Let me just show you this really quickly. And again, I don't want to jump ahead, but when you're in a plan, for example, there is a way inside of here to change. I don't really have a ton that I can share that don't have private information, but there's a way for you to change the importance level. So the reminders that you get will be more frequent, right? So if it's just standard, you're getting a reminder about 24 hours before the due date. If you mark it urgent, you are literally getting a reminder like every 15 minutes until that task is completed. So be respectful and use etiquette when it comes to assigning that importance level. The default is not that, intense. You would have to manually go in and change it. But for some things that are super important, for example, if this is a help desk that's using a planner together that wants to assign a task to a specific user to follow up because there's an outage or something like that, that would be maybe an instance where you would want to have that frequent reminder until completed. So, okay. All right, let's jump back in here. Just check my time. We're about halfway through the session. So I'm just going to scroll through here and come down to do. Now, to do again is now a part of Planner, but to do also lives inside of your Rail inside of Outlook, and it's a great way. Are you using to do? Yes. Okay. So tell me about how you use to do. What are you using it for?
Well, for assignments that's coming up, things in the future, for meetings, tasks that I need to complete, and so usually as it comes up, I'll automatically just go in and I'll make the notation, I'll indicate the time on my little notation and then assign it on the calendar. Like I'll usually, if it's something that's due, say Wednesday, then I'll, set it for Tuesday.
Yeah, on your calendar to give you
my
that,
calendar
yeah.
just to get, I love
that.
it.
So again, this is really great because it lives sort of everywhere. It lives in Outlook, it lives in Teams. You can pull it up and just have a window of to-dos ready to go. The thing that I use to do most for is to follow up on flagged emails. So I will say another way that we work at Microsoft that we'll do a session on that's different maybe than how most people work is that we do not email one another, right? We're in Teams and Teams takes the place of 98% of what we email one another. So we are chatting with one another way more than we're emailing. The thing that we get in email is obviously through external partners that we're working with, right? Now, I will say we still Teams with all of our customers because we have, Teams chat enabled with folks. But if I get an email that I know I need to take action on, I will flag it, and then that becomes a to-do. So it's really cool because you only have to set that up once, right? You just go in and set up every flagged email, create a to-do. And so if you're not in Outlook, but you want to be able to go through and cycle through that list of emails that you owe a follow-up to, it's a great way that just kind of pops up. And let's say, okay, I've actually taken care of this one, I've taken care of this one. So really, really great way to just be able to also create a task out of that follow-up on the email as well. It's also a great view when you see the My Day. And look at this. Stephanie talked to Bill about next steps after lunch. Due date today. This is what just came in from the loop. So you see things that are populating in from multiple ways and areas. The My Day view is great. And I sometimes will have this up, and just as the day goes on, I'll drop my brain dump of things that I want to get done, in the My Day. And that way, when I close out my day at the end of the afternoon, I just take a quick look at this, see if I've completed all the things that I want to get done. So it's a good exercise in the morning for me to just open it up. My flagged emails will show here. Anything that are from other planners that people have assigned me will show up here as due. And I just kind of work my list off of this. I'm a big notepad gal still. I like to have a piece of paper next to me when I'm working, and I just jot a lot. I doodle. It's just a part of how I process. So I would say I'm probably 70% to do and 30% still on my notepad, just because I like to be able to have that tactile way to do it. But I think I've forgotten to follow up on less using this in combination with the notepad than I would without it. So anything that gets you closer, I tell my team all the time, what I don't ever want is for people that we're working with to be waiting on us or to be wondering what we're up to. And I would imagine no matter who your customers are, right, whether they're students or whether they're people here on campus, et cetera, you'd want the same. You don't want them to be waiting on you for a long time, and you don't want them to wonder what you're up to. Those are two bad feelings to give to people. So this is just another tool in the toolbox that exists in the Waffle to help you kind of get closer there. Yes, Carlos, go for it.
Can you remind them all the different ways that they can access To-Do?
Yeah, so again, To-Do lives in the Waffle as a standalone. To-Do also lives, let me go back to Teams. To-Do also lives inside of the Planner app, right? You see it's called Planner here, but it's the same thing. My Day, My Tasks, shows up inside of Teams. And then if I go to Outlook, you'll see it shows up right over here on the left rail as well, this little check mark. So it's the same view in all three places, yes.
So you mentioned when you're collaborating with your external customers and you flag the email, it adds it to the To-Do app. But when you're communicating with people with Microsoft, that's on Teams usually. So can you add just like a message from Teams to your To-Do list with the click of a couple buttons? Or do you have to separately go add it to the To-Do app?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I would just probably come over and go to Planner inside of Teams and add it to My Day. Just type it in. I don't want to spoiler alert anybody, but now that we have Copilot, all of these processes are becoming a little obsolete now, honestly, for us internal at Microsoft, because I very rarely even have to flag emails anymore. I very rarely have to scrub through a chat with my team and figure out what did I promise somebody I would do, because I'm just asking Copilot at the beginning of every day, what came in over the last 24 hours that I haven't followed up on across Teams, chats, emails, whatever else, and it gives me that compiled list. So I would say that these are good stepping stones while you're waiting to kind of capitalize on what AI can do for you future state. But in the future state, a lot of these things that are even modern work right now are really becoming pretty obsolete quickly as soon as you have that methodology. And it takes time. It took us time. I don't know how long. Have we had Copilot for a year internal at Microsoft?
You just said 1 year.
Yeah, so I would say it took probably 6 to 9 months for me to trust it enough to know that it wasn't going to let something fall through the cracks. And you have to do your own validation internally, right, to your spirit. Like, I wouldn't authorize it day one to do all the things that you feel like you can do. And I still follow a methodology with AI where I'm a trust but verify girl, right? I'm going to trust it, but I'm also going to verify. And over time, as you verify and you start to see that it's actually finding things that I wouldn't even find myself, then you start to get more comfortable with what it does. So yeah, in that specific use case, I'm no longer worried about something falling through the cracks that I didn't manually enter, because I'm just letting Copilot do that work for me, if that makes sense.
There's also an option in Teams to create a planner task right off of.
I believe So let me look at my chat really quick. There used to be more actions. Yes. So if you click on any message in your chats or in a team, if you click the three dots, which if you grew up with LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow, this is going to make sense to you, but it's like the caterpillar that's the butterfly if you click more. So I always click the three dots because there's lots more that will transform your life. So I can go to more actions and from right here, create a planner task, or it's just a to-do, but they're branded a little differently right now, depending on the app you're in. And when I do that, it's going to take the content of that chat and put it into the notes section. And then I can decide, here's that priority I mentioned. You definitely don't want to put it as important. Important will freak you out and freak everybody else out. But I can create now a due date for when I want to follow up on that. So if I want to look at this unified services tracker that Bill sent and I want to spend quality time with it, I can create that task. I can even change the title of it because that's a lot. It's going to take the whole message and create the title of the task. I don't necessarily want that. So I can edit it here and just say unified checkup. Right? And then all the content is still there. The link goes into it and I can add the task right from here. So it's just the three dots and then create a planner task from anywhere inside of Teams. Thanks for calling that out, Mike. Any other questions? Okay, again, we do have a broader planner session, I believe, scheduled. So that would be a good one to come to because again, it's a lot of folks who I would say need project management light in their day-to-day, but don't need a full PMO tool are finding a lot of value in Planner, even for personal productivity. Okay. I'm going to go back to apps and I am going to go over here and just give a very quick OneDrive moment. All right. I want to just make sure that people feel comfortable. Are you all still using multiple file storage products here, right? Are you using Box and OneDrive? Okay. I only want to show this really quickly because I think that this looks familiar if you've ever saved anything in Microsoft, right? It looks the same, but these are all cloud-held files. And the beauty of using OneDrive, not that you can't integrate Box in places as well, is that all of these files, in the eventuality that you're going to use Copilot and other AI tools, it starts to build a very complex network of documents and information that you've created, that have been shared with you, that you have access to, that will make your life better. So I just want to do two things. First of all, just know that you can actually go into OneDrive and create something new right from here. So you don't have to open up Word, you don't have to open up PowerPoint, you don't have to open up all these separate apps. If I go to add new, it will give me the option right here for what I can create new right from inside of OneDrive. Okay, so a lot of times people don't realize that. I can also create or just upload folders and files if I want to bring something in. And this is a cool thing, creating a link. So I can create or drop in any of the links that I find in my browsing if I'm not using Edge to kind of keep those things for me. If I find a great link that I want to have a shortcut back to stored in my OneDrive, I can do that here too. Frequently underutilized tool. But I can find my native files. I can find files that have been shared with me. But if I go home, I can also sort by the type of file that I'm looking for. So if I know that I want to find a loop, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I also have like the mega search across all my OneDrive. So if I can't remember exactly what I'm looking for, but I know it was shared by Bill, Bales, and it was a PDF, I can just type his name and it will come up with the PDFs that Bill has shared with me all across my OneDrive. So use the search bar, I guess, is the main thing I want to share with you about OneDrive. You don't have to create the neural network for yourself about where you stored something, which folder it was in. All of that is unnecessary because it will utilize the keywords, the file types, the people to help you find it. Again, even this is pretty obsolete in the world of Copilot. I don't even have to remember anything about that. Sometimes I'll just have a conversation with Copilot that says, what was I working on last week that was about the University of Alabama? I think it had something to do with Microsoft Week. and it will look through all my email, all my chats, all my files, and pull up things that might be relative. And then I have just a conversation with Copilot to help me figure out what I'm looking for. So it really changes the way that you interact when you don't have to be responsible for figuring out the map of where everything lives. But the first step in that maturity model is to utilize your search in this way without having to go open the file, open the subfolder, find the, you know, that's a lot of mental energy you don't need to spend. Sound good? Okay, let me do a quick pause. Let me check the chat, see if anybody has, not there. Anybody has any questions that we need to address?
Paige had one.
Okay, how do you automatically get a flagged email to be on to do? Is that something you have to set up? Yes, Paige, you have to do it one time. I've already done it on mine, so it won't let me show you. But maybe, Carlos, can you drop the Microsoft Learn link or the docs link on how to set up flagged email as to-dos?
Yep.
It's just 2 quick clicks, but because I've already done it on mine, it won't let me show you that step by step. So we'll add that link to the thing. Okay, one more question. Do you have access to Copilot? You have access to Copilot here, the free version that does a lot. And we're going to have sessions about that as the week progresses. Carlos is going to cover a lot of those. We're really unoriginal at Microsoft, and we call everything the same name. So the free version of Copilot is called Copilot. The paid version of Copilot is called M365 Copilot. It gets a little muddy. So we'll show you the Venn diagram of what you have and what would be a paid version. But know that there's a lot of power in the free version that you have now that also provides you the benefit of commercial data protection. So a lot of people on campus are probably using ChatGPTs and a lot of other models for that generative AI chat. The Copilot benefit is that your data is protected when you're using Copilot. So at least at minimum, we want you to get that free version rolling just to get comfortable with it. And we'll show you, Carlos is the Copilot king back there. So he's going to do some sessions that show you the power of that. And then long-term also, if independently you wanted to kind of explore what the paid version looks like, he can kind of show you that as well. Does that answer your question? I think. Okay. I think everything else we've addressed in the chat. Thank you, Carlos, for keeping on top of that. All right, now, not as, maybe not as cute as some of the other apps in the Waffle. I mentioned some things about really utilizing our calendar well. And I want to spend a little bit of time in Outlook Calendar before we get to the end of our time. So again, this looks overwhelming if you are not me. But I wanted to just show you a couple of things about event creation. The first thing is just know that your Outlook calendar and your Teams calendar are the same. Okay, so let me just start there. They're not different. If you add something to one, it goes to the other and vice versa. These are the same calendar. It's a unified calendar experience. The difference for some people is if you create a new meeting in Teams, it's automatically going to have a Teams meeting. Some of you don't yet have that feature enabled inside of Outlook, right? So that's the only difference. One will automatically create a Teams meeting. One, you have to click a toggle to make it a Teams meeting. That's the only difference. You also have different meeting types inside of Teams because it's assuming it's a Teams meeting as well. Those are just templates. You know, most people don't even have to think about that, but just wanted to call it out. Here's what I do want to say. Again, we talked about bookings. Bookings is really for me and external people to Microsoft, right? If we're in the same organization, like if Mike and Barrett want to have a meeting together, they don't need a bookings link. You're just going to use Scheduling Assistant. So let me pause. Is anybody using Scheduling Assistant right now? Super powerful. And it will automatically eliminate how much you annoy your coworkers. And here's what I mean by that. So let's just say I want to have a quick sync for planning. I do want it to be a Teams meeting. And again, I'm having to toggle this because I'm in Outlook, not in Teams. I'm going to go ahead and invite a couple of people. So let's say I want to meet with Charlie, I want to meet with Bill, and I want to meet with Carlos. These are all people that work at Microsoft with me. And that's all I'm going to do at first. I'm not going to worry yet about changing the date and time. It's going to show me automatically today all the people I've invited. And if I slide the meeting time around today, it will dynamically change if people are available or not. This is a good view if you want to meet today. right? Like I need to meet with these people today. If not, I'm going to click this scheduling assistant up at the top and it's going to show me, I could slide through all of time to find a time that everybody's able to meet. So it looks like this week is a cluster because I've blocked my week. So let's go to next week. Okay, look, I found an open little nugget of time where it looks like everybody's calendars are free. So you can see everybody turned available when I clicked the meeting time on that bar. So I've automatically found a time we can meet without having to ask a single person, hey, when are you free? Can you meet at this time? Whatever. I didn't have to ask. So that's as easy as it is. I can slide through. Here's another time. If people want to meet, at 12 on Tuesday, we can also all meet. I can also add additional attendees right from this view. So let's just say, oh, we can all meet here, but let's say if I really want Luciano to also meet with us, is he available as well? He is, right? So it's a really great view dynamically to find a time to meet with people so you don't have to send all those emails back and forth. Once I find a time, it's going to hold that time. I click back over to event, and then I can just add some details if I want to, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so I just wanted to show that way to schedule internally. You don't have to create a whole bookings page if you're just booking with people internal to your organization. Go for it, Carlos.
Good question here. Can the scheduling poll only look at working hours?
A scheduling poll can look, and let me explain the difference. A scheduling poll gives people multiple options, right? So if you want to give people the ability to vote on what time they want to meet and provide options, let's just say I go to the scheduling poll here. It's going to read who I've sent this to or who I want to include in my meeting. And again, it's going to dynamically show me who's available, who's tentative, and who is unavailable. You can toggle off here meeting hours. So this is going to look, it gave me, when I toggled it off, 9 p.m. People would murder me if I put a 9 p.m. call on, right? So I always leave meeting hours toggled because I think that's just good etiquette. But you can have that option inside of scheduling poll to change that. Let's say I don't need a 2-hour meeting. I need a 30-minute meeting. And then I can also say, I just want it for next week. So let's see, automatically, when I changed it to next week for 30 minutes, all 5 of us are available at 9 and 3. So every one of these I click, it's going to add it to a poll, and then you'll get an email sent, right? And once a consensus is met, everyone has voted, it will automatically schedule the Teams meeting. While you're waiting for people to vote, it's going to put a tentative hold on your calendar for every option. So you don't have to worry about blocking it off manually. It's going to automatically put a hold. And then when there's a consensus, the holds drop and the meeting itself is scheduled with a Teams link. So there's really 3 ways to be efficient in your calendar. And again, it might not be the glitziest of apps inside of the Waffle, but super important for good modern work etiquette and ways to save yourself time and energy. Okay, questions out of the chat. Carlos, anybody else have questions? I have not sent a 9 p.m. meeting before. You're full of beans. Okay, I'm going to end then, as we have 10 minutes left. I'll save 5 for questions, but I want to end with something, again, I hinted at the beginning, which is an app that's just recently come over to Microsoft. It was a standalone app like in iOS and other places called Clipchamp. Has anybody used Clipchamp before I jump in? Okay, so Clipchamp is cool. Clipchamp allows us to create video projects and content. So I can upload a video. I can do a quick screen recording right from here. So do you guys use like a Panopto or like other tools here? Okay, so Clipchamp in some ways can take the place of those tools. And then in other ways also, because it's an app on your mobile device, it's a really great way to create, multiple video clips, kind of think about like creating an Instagram reel or like a, kind of a composite of multiple small video clips into one. So super light. You don't need a lot of like high-level skill in video editing, but it can kind of create something more polished out of a couple of different clips, which is a great way to do it. I can also do a camera recording. I can make a playlist of things. So again, if I just do a quick view of a screen recording, I just want to show you what this looks like. You'll see that the back end of this is Stream, which if you're, somebody who has used Stream for a while, you'll know it. Okay, so I always stay in the corner. Then I can pick my screen and what I want to share. And then I can start the recording. I also can have a script. I can upload it or I can type it in. And then afterwards in post, like when I'm live, I can drive, I can annotate, I can do effects on it. So again, very similar to other screen recording tools that are out there, but it lives natively inside of the Microsoft environment. Something again, that's just a little bit extra value inside of the Waffle. So that one might be new to people. Anything coming through in the chat or anybody in the room here have a question about Clipchamp? Go for it.
What is Stream?
So Stream is our big video sort of software. It used to be called Stream, now it's called Clipchamp, essentially. So all of your recordings that exist across the Microsoft environment get imported into Stream. It's sort of like Microsoft's, I don't know, would you call it like Microsoft's version of YouTube?
Yeah, it's like an internal YouTube for your institution, and it's basically where all of your videos are stored.
Right, so your Teams recordings, things like that. And you can, there was some minor editing tooling that you could use inside of Stream, but Stream wasn't great about screen recording and about some of these other things. So when we procured Clipchamp, we pulled Clipchamp's functionality into it and kind of recalibrated it, made it a little more powerful.
So Clipchamp's going to allow you to like more like socialize things. If you, from a social media perspective, it's a little bit of a mix of a consumer / enterprise, where Stream is a little bit more focused on transcription, on changing maybe some of the wording within the transcription, clipping your video a little bit smaller, or accessing Copilot with and asking questions against your video. You can do all of that with Stream, where Clipchamp is more for like a creation.
Yep. And like, again, you know, this is like creating a playlist out of multiples. It uses power of list plus Stream, pulling into Clipchamp. It's a lot of like consolidation, but for me, as a faculty, a student member, somebody else, the power of Clipchamp for me is that I can do an embedded screen share and cast and create that content with myself, like an instructional video, a tutorial video, etc., right inside of this without having to do like, I think when I was starting to do this, when I was still teaching middle school Spanish, don't hold it against me, I was using like Screencast-O-Matic back in the day to try to like rubber band the screen, record myself, create instructional videos, and then sort of do a flipped classroom model. That was years and years ago. So this really takes the place of that, and I'm not having to pay for premium features elsewhere. Yeah.
I've heard of something called StreamYard. So is that connected with that? Is that any way like
I don't know what
similar?
StreamYard is specifically, but there's so many out there, right? So many tools, yeah, that will do screencasting. And again, most of them give you a couple of videos free, or you have a time limit for how long you can record. This one, because it's a part of your Microsoft licensing, you're not limited by any of those things, which is nice.
Rob posted the link to Stream in the
Great.
chat. So you can-
Great. Okay,
So does that somewhat replace, was it Flip that was like the quick video editing thing?
yeah, that's a touchy one. So Flip, also called Flipgrid, if you're like an ed tech fan, you knew about it. That allowed for like a community board almost of like, I'm going to post a video and then everyone will respond to that with their own micro video, right? That threaded sort of micro video channeling, that functionality is gone. But some of the filters that existed in Flip are now baked into class Teams. So you get some of that baked into the Teams camera and stuff. So Clipchamp is more for like creating content that you're going to share out versus that conversational video threading, which Flip was. There's no good replacement for that right now. Yeah, and believe me, we've been loud about it. And I know Rachel and I have worked a lot together on that as well, because I mean, I was using it a ton. You know, there's most folks who are using sort of ed tech tooling in their teaching and learning found a lot of value in Flip. I used Flip to get rid of all of my discussion boards in my class. People much rather record themselves talking for 2 minutes versus creating like a discussion post and then respond to 2 people. I mean, it's like death by discussion post. I hate it.
So they can still like record themselves, but you lose that.
The threaded sort of, yeah, posting, right. Okay, let me go back over here to the call. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Any final questions as we have 5 minutes remaining? Anything that you want some additional resource on? I know Carlos has shared a lot about various things in the chat via link. Just know that you also have access to Microsoft Learn and specifically the Microsoft Learn Educator Center. So actually, let me pull back that. Learn. It's just learn.microsoft.com. And super powerful because you can literally just search anything that you want to investigate deeper. And let me share my screen so I can show you. I can really go into anything I want to see. Oh, this is Ignite. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so the Educator Center specifically, if I click on this, I can search by products. I can search by instructor materials, programs, professional development. There's a whole thing for accessibility, inclusivity, et cetera, but I can also just browse everything and search by keywords. So if I just want to learn more about Loop, for example, I can go down there specifically, go to higher education, filter things down. So again, really easy to, let me go back down here. Here, this. Really easy to find things. So for example, inside of the 365 environment, I can go into, what else did we talk about? Sway. We shared Sway today. There's 3 things that I can look at. One of them is only 23 minutes, which is easy to go through and just do a little bit of learning on my own. So if there's anything that we covered in brief today that you would want to investigate more, that's definitely a great place to go. Anything else in the Waffle? Questions? Okay, I think we're good then for this session. Thank you guys all for coming online. Unfortunately, I can't offer you a pen or a sticker, but those who came in person, feel free to take whatever you see on the table. And we will hit it up next with
9:45 co-pilot.
Good, 9:45. We got a 15-minute bio break, and then we've got a co-pilot session. So see you soon. Thank you, guys.